You're a pit of despair. You disgust me. You disgust everyone.
What's good, Nyaka?
Talk about a letdown. So, Halloween Kills just released, and it's a sequel to 2018's Halloween, which was a sequel to the original John Carpenter Halloween from 1978. And this one picks up right where the last one left off. Laurie Strode and her daughter and her granddaughter are in the back of a truck driving away from her burning house, where Michael Myers is trapped inside. But fire trucks drive to the fire and unintentionally help Michael escape. So Michael is on the loose again, but this time, the townspeople won't have it. So most of the town bands together and goes on a manhunt. This is a very cool idea and a nice switch up. Instead of running from him, they're seeking him out. And I was really looking forward to this. It was delayed, and now it's here, so let's talk about it. If you take one look at this title, then you know how I feel. This movie was disappointing and a huge letdown. It's weird how big of a step down this one feels compared to the previous, because it's made by the same people. It's written and directed by the same guys, so it's shocking that it's not as good. It's a shame because the ingredients are there for a solid movie, but it lacks focus on stuff that actually matters here, and instead wastes time to focus on things that really aren't that important. Before I start getting ahead of myself, let me go ahead and explain what the main issues are with this movie. The film focuses on the wrong stuff and characters here. So the cop from the previous one, Officer Hawkins, he gets a lot of extra screen time here. So he didn't die from getting stabbed by the doctor in the previous film, and is instead taken to the hospital where he shares a room with Laurie. And there's a lot of extra attention given to this character and a decision that he made 40 years prior. You see, throughout the movie, it flashes back to Halloween night 1978, during the original Halloween. And it shows Officer Hawkins and his partner hunting Michael after he's been shot by Loomis. They end up in Michael's childhood house, and he accidentally shoots and kills his partner while trying to shoot Michael. Then while Michael is trying to escape the house, he gets surrounded by police, and Hawkins stops Michael from getting executed, and instead they decide to lock him up. Then finally it shows him talking to his captain, and they come up with a story to make it look like his partner's death was an accident. You're given this info throughout the movie, and every time they showed more of these flashbacks, I just kept thinking,
We don't care.
Collectively, these scenes take up nearly 20 minutes of the movie, and 12 minutes of that is in the very beginning. That's how the movie opens. And then later on we see part of the same flashback again, but this time we're given a little bit more, and we see Hawkins stop Michael from getting killed. And then later we're given the final piece where it's him and his captain lying about what happened. Now you see, all this is not that important at all. These flashbacks just kind of waste time. I've seen people say that the reason they're here is to establish that Michael stands outside of his window, so that's how they figure out that he's heading home. But this guy here figures it out without even knowing the cop story. You literally just could have had him call Tommy and tell Tommy, hey, Michael is heading to his old childhood house. We should probably go there. Then Tommy could just tell the mother. Then when you know, you have everyone in the same location at the climax. And I get that Hawkins is supposed to be dealing with guilt for killing his partner, and now he's feeling more guilty that he saved Michael that night because of the murders that are now happening again 40 years later. But here's the thing.
Don't care.
This might make me sound like a dick, and I accept that. This cop story is not that interesting. You know what is interesting? Laurie and Michael's relationship. That's way more intriguing than this. And unfortunately in this movie, she's sidelined for the entire thing. She's basically just here to be in a hospital bed and to deliver a monologue at the end. Instead they focus on this other character named Tommy, who was a kid during the events of the first Halloween. And he's the one who riles the people together to fight Michael Myers. There's also a few other characters that were there during the first Halloween, and you see short flashbacks of that in the movie. And I guess it's kind of cool seeing those characters in this new one. But people are much more invested in the Laurie Strode and Michael Myers story. She's the most popular character in the franchise besides Michael himself. So it sucks that she does literally nothing in this movie, and you have to follow some other characters that you aren't nearly as attached to. It's like the movie's going, I know you want Laurie Strode, but you can't have her right now. So here, check out these guys. They were also there during the events of the first Halloween. So the movie quickly tries to establish these characters, but it really doesn't work. I'm gonna be honest with you. I enjoyed seeing Big John and Little John more than these characters. Now you see, the movie should have focused more on the hunt for Michael Myers, as well as the trail of bodies that Michael was leaving in his path. Hell, have Michael have more encounters with these groups of people that are looking for him, and have that be the way that people realize, oh, he's leaving a trail right to his house. So yeah, all these flashbacks and backstory for these characters just really feel like a drag, and it makes the movie feel longer than it is. And something else that the movie tries to throw into the mix is this message about mob mentality and how it's bad, and how fear can tear people apart. But it's delivered so poorly. Like, Laurie Strode delivers this in a monologue towards the end. Basically, the whole town is rioting and looking for Michael, and Laurie describes this chaos as Michael's masterpiece, and this is the effect that he has on people, and blah blah blah. It's pushing this message, but it's like, who gives a shit? I don't know, it feels so pretentious. Like, the movie thinks it's saying something so deep and philosophical, but it really isn't. All it's telling you is that mob mentality is bad, and it expresses how fear can tear people apart and turn on each other. But you see, it delivered a similar message in the previous film. You see, in the movie before this, Laurie's fear of Michael has driven her apart from her family, and she lives in isolation. Being afraid, cautious, and suspicious of everyone and everything has put a giant toll on her life. You see, that worked fine there. Here, I feel like this whole message about mob mentality is just not necessary, and I feel like focusing on that, as well as characters that aren't really as important or interesting is what pulls this movie down. It's almost like it loses its way and forgets that it's a slasher. And I'm not saying that a slasher can't be deeper. Like, there's social commentary throughout the original Candyman, but it's handled really well. But here it spends more time than what is necessary to show that mob mentality is bad. So those are the two main things that really drag this movie down. It's spending too much time focusing on these characters and wasting time showing flashbacks, as well as trying to push this message of mob mentality being evil, and just doing it in the most blunt and smug way possible. And I know some people are upset that the movie doesn't really have closure. Like, it's not really a solid ending. I'm personally not too upset about that, only because I know they're making another one. It's called Halloween Ends. So I already knew that this one was basically a bridge in between the two. So nothing is actually fully wrapped up here. It's going to be in the next one. Like I said, it doesn't really bother me, but I know a lot of people were upset about that. So I know I spent like the last 5 minutes bitching, but this movie isn't really terrible. I mean, I still think it's better than some of the worst Halloween movies, and there are some things that I do like about it. For starters, I think the music is great. It was composed by John Carpenter and his son, so it's no surprise that it's good. And acting wise, I think everyone was fine for the most part. There were a few times where it was some unintentionally funny lines because of the character's delivery, but other than that, I thought it was okay. Also, there is a lot less humor here than the previous, so if you weren't a fan of the jokes in the first movie, then don't worry, there aren't many here at all. And there are quite a bit of kills here. This one actually has the highest body count of the whole franchise, but I think it's due in large part that Michael kills several people at once. Like in the beginning, he kills like 8 firefighters at once, and later on he kills an old married couple, and then he kills a kid as well as 3 people looking for him. Then he kills Big John and Little John. Then he kills a dozen or so people beating the shit out of him. There's not many one-on-one encounters here. Although the only thing I don't like about most of these kills is that they weren't very creative. They're bloody, but overall they're kind of boring. He grabs and slams people's heads around a lot in this one. I mean, it's still pretty entertaining, but compared to the last one, it's not very creative. Matter of fact, a few of the kills are kind of goofy. Like, there's a scene where this chick is trying to shoot him, but she has horrible aim, so she keeps getting closer and closer, and then Michael kicks the car door towards her, hitting her hand, causing her to accidentally shoot herself. It was kind of hilarious. Oh yeah, and during the second half of this movie, you're gonna hear "Evil Dies Tonight" a lot, like to a comical degree. I personally thought it was pretty funny hearing people just chant it over and over again, but it was also pretty annoying. And this last thing is kind of a nitpick, but it bothered me when it happened in the movie. There's a scene where Michael gets his mask taken off, and you see a little bit too much of his face and head. I don't know, just seeing his like balding head and part of his like facial hair, it just bothered me. It's not a big deal at all, but to me personally, I didn't like it. I prefer to keep his face obscured. It kind of adds to that mystery, you know? So overall, I felt Halloween Kills was very disappointing. Not a terrible movie, but not really that good. I think it's decent at best, and there's a few moments where it does shine. I feel like it lacked focus on the things that actually were important, and instead focused on things that really don't matter, or they're not as interesting. And it's stuff that kind of eats away at the runtime. It makes parts of this movie just feel like a drag. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I still am very much interested in seeing the next one, just because I really like Halloween. And I'm curious how the final showdown between Michael and Laurie is gonna go. I definitely don't see myself rewatching this one anytime soon, at least not until the next one comes out, and that's really just as a refresher. Honestly, this kind of feels like filler until we get to the main event. And I feel like in time, this one might fall to the wayside as one of the more forgettable Halloween movies. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the Halloween Kills. So I want you to go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the movie. Is it the worst Halloween movie? Or do you think people are being too harsh on it? Leave a comment and let me know. I mean, personally for me, I would still rather watch this over Halloween Resurrection or H2O. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go and drop a like on it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
Spider-Man, it's only gay if you receive. Don't worry. I will bear this cross, Spider-Man.
Can we talk about Willem Dafoe's penis?